أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا نودي للصلاة من يوم الجمعة فاسعوا إلى ذكر الله وذروا البيع ذلكم خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن سيدنا ونبينا وحبيبنا ومولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله صلوات الله وسلامه عليه والطيبين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين، وأسلم تسليما كثيرا. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء، واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم، ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد، قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه العزيز بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم: وما خلقت الجن والإنس إلا ليعبدون. وقال سبحانه وتعالى: يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وكونوا مع الصادقين. صدق الله العظيم. Respected brothers and sisters in Islam, Alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, through His mercy, He blessed us with the ability to come together to remember Him. This is something that we have to be grateful for, and it's always beautiful to see, mashallah, the masjid full. And the Muslims remembering what is our purpose, right? We come together to remember what is our purpose. What is our purpose of creation? Why are we even here? Because if you don't understand the purpose, or you forget your purpose, you'll never attain your objective. If you don't know why you're doing something, you'll never accomplish it. So take, for example, a person, a very simple example. You work for a boss. He tells you, take this package and deliver it to somebody in LA. And you have 2 or 3 days to do it, and here's the money for your travel. So you say, great, that's awesome. We get to go to California, get out of the heat. So you get excited. You rent a Mustang, you're going to go have fun. You get 3 of your friends. You say, we're going for free on a trip to California. Come with me. And we have food, and we have money for a hotel, and we have money for food. So it's going to be really fun. So you go, you start driving, you enjoy yourselves, you stop a bunch of times to eat, you go to the beach, you go to Hollywood, you go to Disney World, and then you come back after 3 days. And your boss says, what did he say when you gave him the package? And then you say, oh, the package. The package was the reason you were going, right? The package was what he sent you to do. Everything else was extra. Everything else was just the extras along the way. Similarly, a person, so what's that boss going to do? He's going to fire you. The boss said, I gave you a specific task. I sent you with a purpose. I said you can do whatever you want to do on the way. Just don't do certain things. Don't get in trouble. Don't speed. Don't do X, Y, and Z. But you have everything else freedom to do, but make sure you remember your objective. Similarly, a person who comes to study, right? A person's parents send them to college. So they come to the university, they enroll here, they spend 4, 5, 6, sometimes years getting their degree, studying. And along the way they make friends and they enjoy food and they go to the gym and they have fun, but at the end of those 4, 5, 6 years they go back home and their parents are like, well, where's your diploma? And you say, oh, I forgot. Your parents are going to say, what? That person forgot their objective. That person would be considered a failure. That person would be considered foolish. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran that I sent you here to this dunya with a purpose. وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. That we didn't create you except to worship us. To Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the purpose, he says. الَّذِي خَلَقَ الْمَوْتَ وَالْحَيَاةَ لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ أَيُّكُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا. He says he's the one that created life and death to test you, which of you are best in deeds. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us from the beginning. He says that this is a test. This world is a test. I sent you as a test. It's not random. Right? There's people walking around this campus, very intelligent people, that think all of this is random. It's just chance. It just poured yesterday randomly. And it's so hot today randomly, and the beauty of the world and everything that happens in all of us and all of our creation is a chance. Right? Allah says, no, I sent you with a purpose. I made that very clear. And along the way in this test, in this world, I'm gonna test you. So for some people, those tests, he says, لَتُبْلَوُنَّ فِي أَمْوَالِكُمْ وَأَنفُسِكُمْ. For some people, he tests them in their wealth and in their families. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us. For some people, he says that وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ مِّنَ الْخَوْفِ وَالْجُوعِ وَنَقْصٍ مِّنَ الْأَمْوَالِ وَالْأَنفُسِ وَالثَّمَرَاتِ. For some people, he says, I'm going to test you with decreasing your wealth and testing you with hunger and fear. And decrease in your provisions. Alhamdulillah, most of us in this room, we don't have those tests. Right? Most of us in this room, alhamdulillah, we don't have those tests. That people overseas, the tests they have, alhamdulillah, we have comfort, we have luxury, we have AC, we have all the amenities. Everything we have, alhamdulillah. So please, inshallah, fill all the gaps. If there's any gaps, fill them, inshallah. And that way we won't have to keep interrupting, inshallah. Any gap in front of you, please move forward, please move to my right, and fill all the space so that everybody can come in, inshallah. So those tests Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tests us with. He says it's going to happen. But there are other tests that Allah gives us in this society, predominantly as students, but for every one of us who's here in this society. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that He's going to test you with fitnas. Right? It's not easy to be Muslim and practice Islam in this environment. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that I've made certain things attractive to you, and I've said you can't do them. I've made them attractive, but then I've said you can't do them. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Imran, زُيِّنَ لِلنَّاسِ حُبُّ الشَّهَوَاتِ مِنَ النِّسَاءِ وَالْبَنِينَ وَالْقَنَاطِيرِ الْمُقَنطَرَةِ من الذهب والفضة والخيل المسومة والأنعام والحرث ذلك متاع الحياة الدنيا والله عنده حسن المآب. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that I beautified the love and desire for certain things, for women. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, some people tell you, oh, you shouldn't do this, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, no, I've made these things attractive to you. I've made this attractive to you. مِنَ النِّسَاءِ وَالْبَنِينَ, children, the love, the desire to have a lot of children. وَالْقَنَاطِيرِ الْمُقَنطَرَةِ مِنَ الذَّهَبِ وَالْفِضَّةِ, and amassing different amounts of gold and wealth and horses and all of this stuff, the desire to get rich. Right? This is intrinsic within us, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying. Right? But how do we channel them? ذَلِكَ مَتَاعُ الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيا. These are just worldly things. They're temporary enjoyments. They're temporary enjoyments. And the akhirah is the real enjoyment. But now, subhanAllah, people forget, we forget. And so we get caught up in these things. We get caught up in these things, and then we start to think, well, you know, everybody's doing it, and I'm the only person who's not, and it makes me weird. So when you're walking around campus, right? When you're walking around campus, you see everybody, all, you know, girls are dressed in a certain way. You're saying everybody's looking. Everybody's looking. Of course, I'm going to look too. You say everybody's drinking, everybody's smoking, everybody's doing haram in order to make money. People are engaged in all kinds of different things. And we see Muslims fall into the same traps. You know, and it's sad. Sometimes as Muslims, you know, the khatib will come up and talk at a high level. I want to be very direct. You know, one of the brothers, he came to me last week and he said, this is a person born in a Muslim country, from a Muslim environment, in a country where this stuff doesn't even exist. And he said that, you know, most of my friends, they drink. I was thinking, okay, you know, most of his friends, they're non-Muslims. But no, most of the Muslims, right, coming from these environments, these are things that are very predominant in our society. How many Muslims are engaged in zina? How many people are addicted to pornography? How many people are drinking and smoking within our own community? Some people like to deny it, but these things are prevalent. These things are very, very prevalent. And the Prophet ﷺ, he told us that holding on to your deen, avoiding these things, will be like holding on to a hot coal. Very difficult. Very difficult, because everybody around you is doing something haram. And so you seem like the weird person. A person said to me, well, a person says, my roommate does these things. Well, who told you to live there? In an environment where a person is drinking, a person is engaged in all kinds of different things, that stuff has an impact on us. The environment that we're in has an impact on us. So the person, what makes us different? What makes us different? The Prophet ﷺ says that Islam started as something strange, and it will eventually become something strange again. فَطُوبَى لِلْغُرَبَاءِ. So if you're the only person that's not doing these things, the sister who's wearing hijab in an environment where it's the complete opposite of hijab, right? The brother who's abstaining, who's not going to places, who's not drinking, who's not smoking, who's not engaging in zina, that person may seem weird to the public, but that person is beloved to Allah. But how do we stop these things if we're engaged in them? A lot of people ask, they have a desire to break a bad habit. To break a bad habit. Whether it's pornography, whether it's a business that's haram, it's a girlfriend or a boyfriend, or it's a bad habit of lying or cheating, whatever it may be. People have these things, all of us have certain bad habits that we want to break. We have the desire, but we don't have the willpower to do it. We have the desire, after you leave the khutbah, you say, yeah, I don't want to do that. But a few minutes later, we forget. And so the one solution I want to offer today, if this resonates with anybody, if people are feeling that, yes, I fall into these traps, and in fact all of us do, and it's normal. So much so that if you look at Yusuf alayhi salam, it's an absolutely amazing statement he makes. Who is Yusuf alayhi salam? He is Yusuf the prophet, son of Yaqub the prophet, son of Ibrahim Khalilullah, the prophet, the beloved friend of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he says what? He says, Inna nafsa la ammaratun bisu illa ma rahima rabbi. He says that the nafs, my internal soul, commands to evil except through the mercy of Allah. So these inclinations that we might have, these are normal. When he was seduced by Zulaykha, right? She wasn't just an average woman. She was the king of the Aziz, so the wife of the Aziz. So imagine, she must have been the wealthiest and probably the most beautiful woman in all of Egypt. He's not going to marry a loser. He's going to marry the one who's, has the wealth, comes from a good family, he's the most beautiful. And she tries to seduce him, closes the door and chases after him. We know the first part where he says, رَبِّ السِّجْنُ أَحَبُّ إِلَيَّ مِمَّا يَدْعُونَنِي إِلَيْهِ. She says, do this or I'm going to throw you in jail. Think about that difficult moment there. And he says what? He says, prison is more beloved to me. That's strength. That's strength. But the second part of it is where he admits his humanity. He says, وَإِلَّا تَصْرِفْ عَنِّي كَيْدَهُنَّ أَصْبُ إِلَيْهِنَّ وَأَكُمْ مِنَ الْجَاهِلِينَ. That if you don't help me, if you don't turn me away from her, I might become inclined, and then I would be amongst the jahilin, the ignorant. He's admitting that even prophet, son of a prophet is tempted and may fall into haram, if not for the help of Allah, if not for the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is how we should approach these things. That these are tests that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts in our environment. That it's hard to abstain from interest. It's hard to abstain from haram. It's hard to lower my gaze. It's hard to practice the teachings of Islam. But with the help of Allah, I'm fully capable. With the help of Allah. And the one solution I want to offer today is one word, it's suhbah. It's suhbah. If you look at social studies about how people change behaviors, it's the environment in which you place yourself. The environment in which you place yourself. Imagine right now you decided to do something other than listen to the khutbah. You wouldn't be able to, because the environment in which you're in right now is controlling you. It says that you have to listen to the khutbah and you have to pray right now. So when we place ourselves in good environments, the Prophet ﷺ says that the believer who mixes in society and endures difficulties is better than the one who doesn't. So Islam teaches us, go out and work, go to school, have relationships with your neighbors and with your colleagues and with your teachers and your students and all of that. That person who has those relationships is a good Muslim. But here I'm talking about relationships solely for the sake of Allah. That we need to create relationships and bonds with people that remind us of Allah. That remind us of Allah. Because most of us won't commit certain things when other people are watching. Right? We might not have the taqwa of Allah yet, the strength to say, Allah's watching me, so I'm not going to look there, or I'm not going to engage in this. But if my dad is there, if my grandmother is sitting next to me, if my wife is standing right next to me, I'm probably not going to look, right? I'm going to get in trouble. So when we put ourselves in environments with good Muslim people around us, then it becomes much easier not to, be in a place where there's alcohol, where there's drugs, or all of these things. But when when the people around us are doing it, it becomes desensitized and it becomes easy. And when we build these relationships solely for the sake of Allah, loving a person for the sake of Allah, meaning you remind me of Allah. Where do we find that? We find that in the Masjid. Right? Why is the Masjid so packed at Jum'a? It's easy to come for Jum'a because everybody's coming for Jum'a. We find these relationships, we cultivate them in the Masjid. With people who will keep us out of trouble. With people who keep us out of trouble. For sisters, good strong sisters that encourage me to wear hijab, that encourage me to do good. For brothers, the same thing. For a family environment, all of the same. And not only does it prevent us from doing haram, Allah commands us, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu attaqullah wa kunu ma'as sadiqeen. That fear Allah and be with the truthful. Not only does it prevent us from committing these mistakes and sins, it encourages us to do good. But on top of that, there's an incredible reward. There's an absolutely incredible reward with loving somebody and building a relationship solely for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Listen to this hadith. It's a hadith of Tabarani where the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam says, he says, and this is something unique in the West, like in America, in this environment. Many of you from your countries back home wouldn't be able to apply this hadith. But here we have the ability to apply it and attain such a tremendous rank. He says, إِنَّ لِلَّهِ عِبَادًا لَيْسُوا بِأَنْبِيَاء وَلَا شُهَدَاء. That there are certain people of Allah, they're not prophets and they're not martyrs. They're not prophets and they're not martyrs. يَغْبِطُهُمُ النَّبِيُّونَ وَالشُّهَدَاء عَلَى مَجَالِسِهِمْ وَقُرْبِهِمْ مِنَ اللَّهِ. That the prophets and the martyrs will be envious of them on the day of judgment because of their position near Allah. Now think of that for a moment. In our hierarchy of religious people, prophets is the top. مع النبيين والصديقين والشهداء والصالحين. And martyrs are right beneath there, people who gave their lives. So those people expect their status. Imagine there's a rich person and he worked hard and he attained a lot of wealth. And then he sees somebody who didn't really do that much and got the same thing. Right? So that person is a little envious. So they did all these sacrifices, they deserved their position, but then there will be people that didn't do that kind of work, and yet they're attaining the same status. So the prophets and the martyrs are going to be envious of them, subhanAllah. Of course the Sahaba are inquisitive people, they're intellectuals. They don't just listen, they want to know who they are. How can I become that person? قِيلَ مَنْ هُمْ يَا رَسُولَ اللَّهِ. So somebody asked, who are they, Ya Rasulullah? قَالَ نَاسٌ مِّن بُلْدَانٍ شَتَّى. That they are people from different countries, different nations, different tribes. لَمْ تَصِلْ بَيْنَهُمْ أَرْحَامٌ مُتَقَارِبَةٌ. They don't have any family relationship between them. تَحَابُّوا فِي اللَّهِ. They love one another for the sake of Allah. وَتَصَافَحُوا فِيهِ. They meet one another and they shake one another's hands. SubhanAllah. This can be us in this environment here today. What happens to them? فَيَجْلِسُ يَضَعُ اللَّهُ لَهُمْ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ مَنَابِرَ مِن نُور. Allah will place them on thrones of light on the day of judgment. قُدَّامَ الرَّحْمَنِ. They will be sitting right in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imagine the status. فَيَجْلِسُهُمْ عَلَيْهَا يَفْزَعُ النَّاسَ وَلَا يَفْزَعُونَ. That they will sit on this. These are people on that day, people will be terrified, but they will be enjoying comfort and luxury and relaxation. Subhanallah. Another hadith similarly in Tabarani to the same effect. لَيَبْعَثَنَّ اللَّهُ أَقْوَامًا يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ فِي وُجُوهِهِمُ النُّورِ عَلَى مَنَابِرَ اللُّؤْلُؤِ. that Allah will bring a people on the Day of Judgment. On the Day of Judgment, Allah will raise a people that their faces will be full of light and they will be sitting on thrones of pearl. Imagine the architecture of Jannah. If you go to some of these big homes in Phoenix, in the mountains, you can see what kind of incredible architecture these people have been able to design, what type of furniture they have. عَلَى مَنَابِرَ اللُّؤْلُؤ. What would that mean? Sofas and thrones made of pure pearls. لَيْسُوا بِأَنْبِيَاء وَلَا شُهَدَاء. That these are people, يَغْبِطُهُمُ النَّاسِ, that people will be envious of those people. Of course, you're going to see these people, you wish to be in their position, and they aren't prophets and they aren't martyrs. قِيلَ مَنْ هُمْ يَا رَسُولَ اللَّهِ. So people asked, who are they, Ya Rasulullah? He says, الْمُتَحَابُّونَ فِي اللَّهِ. People who love one another for the sake of Allah. So loving one another for the sake of Allah is what we have to develop. Because when we develop these relationships that have no other meaning, it's not a business relationship. I'm not looking for work from you. I'm not looking to give you money. I'm not looking to benefit in some other way other than you help me get closer to Allah and I help you get closer to Allah. Right? Strong Muslim relationships with people from, here it says, مُتَحَابُّونَ فِي اللَّهِ مِنْ قَبَائِلَ شَتَّى وَبِلَادٍ شَتَّى. From different tribes and different countries. SubhanAllah. The universality, the brotherhood of Islam is here. يَجْتَمِعُونَ عَلَى ذِكْرِ اللَّهِ. They get together to remember Allah. So this reward that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promises when we build relationships that of people that will bring us closer to Allah. Within our families, first and foremost, but outside of our families, or if we're not married, or if we're not living with our brothers and sisters and parents and children, then with those around us, the community of the masjid. The community of the masjid, when we have these relationships. Now a person may ask, how am I going to love somebody? How am I going to love somebody? I don't even know you. I don't know your name. First of all, we have to learn people's names. But the Prophet ﷺ tells us this too. He says that لَا تَدْخُلُوا الْجَنَّةَ حَتَّى تُؤْمِنُوا, that you won't enter Jannah until you truly believe. Makes sense, right? Jannah prerequisite is believing. وَلَن تُؤْمِنُوا حَتَّى تَحَابُّوا. But this part's much harder. You won't believe until you love one another. And if you love one another, that means that you have to be with them. You're not going to say to your wife, I love you, and then, I'm leaving. Of course not, right? You want to be with the person you love. You love your children. You want to spend time with them. So if we're loving one another, that means that we're necessarily spending time with one another. And then the Sahaba say, well, how are we going to get love from one another? That's the natural question. How can I love somebody? أَوَلَا أَدُلُّكُمْ عَلَى شَيْءٍ إِذَا فَعَلْتُمُوهُ تَحَابَبْتُمْ. He answers it before they ask. That shall I tell you something, if you do it, you will create love with one another. He says, أَفْشُوا السَّلَامَ بَيْنَكُمْ. Spread salam between one another. So when we see Muslim people outside, we should get in the habit of saying salam. You see a Muslim person walking through campus, right? The pride of Muslims is salam. Just say, Assalamu alaikum. It's the only religion that has this greeting, right? Two Christian people walking by each other. What are they going to say? Hey, what's up? That's it. They don't have a special greeting. We have a special greeting. A very special greeting, which doesn't matter what language you're speaking. A person can be Chinese and a person can be from Brazil, and the two of them meet and they know that they're Muslims and they say Assalamu alaikum wa alaikum assalam, and they have this immediate connection with one another. This is the beauty of our faith. This, when we develop these things for the sake of Allah, it will naturally force us to avoid sins and environments in which sins are so prevalent. When we surround ourselves, this is how you stay safe. Having been in this type of environment in college, it's not easy. You can't survive on your own. You can't come to a country and expect that you're going to maintain your level of Islam and go back and not be impacted without connecting yourself to the masjid, without connecting yourself to the people of Allah. It's impossible. It's impossible. So for us, inshallah, the take-home message is very simple. That the way we come out of Jum'ah, hopefully we stay awake during Jum'ah each week and we come out uplifted. We can replicate that multiple times a week, multiple times a day, when we surround ourselves with good Muslim people who will remind us of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who will prevent us from committing sins, who will encourage us to do good, and we build love and mahabba with them for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so that He gives us this tremendous reward on the Day of Judgment. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us people who love one another. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us people who are able to give us the tawfiq to avoid all of the sins that are so pervasive, surrounding us at all times of day and all times of night. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from them, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq to get closer and closer to Him, following the method of His Prophet and the Sahaba ridwanullah alayhim ajma'in. Barakallahu lana wa lakum fil Qur'an al-azim wa nafa'na wa iyyakum bima fihi min al-ayati wa dhikr al-hakim. Nastaghfiruhu innahu huwa al-ghafur ar-rahim. الحمد لله حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه مباركا عليه كما يحب ربنا ويرضى. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن سيدنا ونبينا وحبيبنا ومولانا محمد عبده ورسوله. Respected brothers and sisters in Islam, Alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed us with iman. It's the biggest gift that we have. It's the biggest gift that we have. Like I said, the bonds between Muslims are so strong, whether we know it or whether we don't. We just have to cultivate them. On a slightly different note, inshallah, there's another obligation. Islam is a holistic way of life. Islam is a holistic way of life that governs how we live our lives, how we earn our money, how we spend our money, what we do in our day, but how we earn our money, how we spend our money. And the third, which is generally neglected within our society, is how we distribute it after our death. This is a very important topic within the Muslim community about what happens to us with our what happens to our families and to our wealth after we pass away. So regarding this, inshallah, there will be a program I'll be delivering tonight, inshallah, here at this Masjid after Maghrib, and it's about creating Islamic wills and trusts, creating or following the commandments laid out in the Quran with respect to what we need to do with the money that we've earned, that we've strived to earn a halal income during our life. How can we make sure that it passes to our children in a way that is optimal, that doesn't end up spending lots of it to the government in taxes and in fees? So all of these things, inshallah, we'll discuss tonight. The concept of how to pass wealth, what the Islamic rules of inheritance are in Surah An-Nisa. This is an important topic for families. Who would have guardianship over your children? Who would be able to make decisions for you if, la samahullah, something were to happen to you and to your wife within your community, within your family? So inshallah, this program will take place, very important, after Maghrib. All of you are invited, inshallah, to attend and benefit from it. قال الله سبحانه وتعالى إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. وقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم من صلى علي صلاة صلى الله عليه بها عشرا. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. وقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ارحموا أمتي بأمتي أبو بكر وأشدهم في أمر الله عمر وأصدقهم حياء عثمان وأقضاهم علي وفاطمة سيدة نساء أهل الجنة وحمزة أسد الله وأسد رسوله رضوان الله تعالى عليهم أجمعين. اللهم اغفر للعباس وولده مغفرة ظاهرة وباطنة لا تغادر ذنبا. اللهم اغفر لنا وللمؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات الأحياء منهم والأموات إنك سميع قريب مجيب الدعوات. اللهم اجعلنا من الذين يستمعون القول فيتبعون أحسنه. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا ولوالدينا ولمشائخنا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم واغفر لنا إنك أنت الغفور الرحيم. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين وأقم الصلاة.